In the studio, we have sociologist Marcel Meciar with us. Marcel, Russia has been famous with its composers. How was Russia and the soon-to-be Soviet music affected by the revolution?
The October Revolution had affected all the facets of cultural life, including music. At the same time, the First World War is still raging on. So many young men, including, of course, composers, musicians, they were drafted into army. Many of them died. Some orchestras had to be closed because sometimes more than 50% of the players were simply in the service, military service. So this would be like one rupture. Also, the old generation of the pre-revolutionary famous composers slowly were dying of natural causes, like Rimsky-Korsakov. So there was, at the same time, this most famous man, and they call him sometimes child of the revolution, Dmitri Shostakovich, was only 11 years old, so he will start composing in the 1920s. So that's the situation. And
so what was the reaction of the composers and the musicians to the Great October?
So one reaction was that some people really went into a stress and they decided to really emigrate quickly, and they formed a community of these emigres, like Stravinsky, for example, later followed by Sergei Prokofiev. There was, of course, these people who tried to keep the continuity, so just less-known composers or the teachers in the conservatories. Russia had a system of conservatories already since 19th century. You know, they also were trying to build a modern school system. So this would be kind of a wave of continuity. So these people who stayed, people who left. But what's important that they kept this mutual interaction together in the 1920s. Russian composers could come back to even conduct their pieces, their new works. Western artists were also welcomed, like Béla Bartók, for example, from Hungary. So this was good time, these 1920s. It will change in the 1932, or by the late 1920s, slowly, when this new leader, Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin, will come.
Okay, so what was the position of the Bolshevik regime towards music in terms of innovations and support of musicians back then?
Already during the early 20th century, with the thoughts of Mikhail Mayakovsky, there has been this idea that art can be used to help the revolution, for example, or the art can be used for educating people, making them more cultural, like more, you know, of course.
Are there still traces of the uprising in contemporary music today?
There are these reflections of maybe this. I would take it all over, like Russian Revolution. It has this stage of February and this October one. And at the time, you know, the old songs were also sung already, the songs from 19th century and used in October Revolution, like Dubinushka, for example. There was version of Workers' Marseillaise, you know, really Marseillaise from, you know, French Revolution, translated with new words, adapted to Slavic language, that is, of course, Russian. And today, it's interesting, in this moment, all over the world, in big cities, you know, like New York, London, in Australia, probably in Sydney, in Greece, in Athens, they are many cultural, you know, events going on. Even in jazz, so reflection of October Revolution in jazz. Of course, classical music, it's clear. Not maybe so many mass songs or revolutionary songs. So these things will be played on this day. And in Russia, people still are singing these songs, not compulsorily, you know, that they have to, like at home. They have some, you know, strong emotional connection, some feelings to there, because they have really nice lyrics.
They go back to the time.
So they go back to the time, and even some rock bands, so there is a jazz, but also some rock bands, for example, rock band Decabro, they are singing these old songs, performing in new forms.
Yeah. Well, that's a great note to leave off on. Marcel, thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Thank you very much.